In this video, I'm going to talk about my kind of weird writing style that I do in the box with Logic Pro or with a digital audio workstation of some type. And I think the way that I write is really conducive to coming up with quick demos and having a really good idea of if a song is viable or not. And let me contrast with this with how a lot of people write music and have been doing since like the beginning of time. Essentially, like often you're with an instrument and you're coming up with ideas and you have to kind of store everything in your head. And you rehearse these parts really well, and then maybe you even play them with other people. And then you get to the point where you have a song done, and then you finally go and you do a demo or you do a final recording. And the thing is, by the time you get to that recording, you've never really heard the song unless you're in like a rehearsal situation where you're playing it with the band. And therefore you have no idea what it actually sounds like until you've done all this work, right? Because like writing a song just with your instrument, and let's say you're writing stuff down, maybe you're just memorizing it, whatever it is, by the time you get to the recording, you might have put 8 hours into that song. And there are benefits of this, right? One big benefit of this is you get better at playing those parts, and you can refine them, and then you go in and track it, and everything's super tight. The flip side, though, is that massive time investment you have to put to even get to that point, and you have to have the foresight and the vision of knowing what works and what doesn't, and very often you're going to get it wrong. So this workflow is kind of like the polar opposite of that. So that being said, let's dive into Logic and I'll show you what I mean. So I just have an empty Logic session here, and right now I have a drum track, I have a bass virtual instrument, I also have a guitar virtual instrument, but now I'm going to make a new empty audio track, and I'm just going to throw a VST on here. So we're going to go in and throw in, let's do Neural DSP Nolly X. I'm going to go in and I'm just going to pick periphery style rhythm, and now I have something to record. Cool. And now the first thing you need is an idea, and I don't necessarily have an idea right now. But that's kind of the beauty of this approach, is we're prototyping in real time. So let's say I don't have an idea, but I want to get inspired. Well, sometimes that inspiration will come from riffing, and sometimes it'll come from playing around with some of the other elements in your DAW. And so what this approach is let's say I don't have an idea for that, but I have an idea for a rhythm. So I can come into the drums here, and I could say this, and I'll just quickly come up with some type of cool rhythm. So I actually already have drums, right? So now I don't even have a guitar idea. I have a drum idea that now I'm going to riff over and hopefully turn into a guitar idea. Let me mix this a tiny bit. I'm just going to pull this down. Now, the point of my writing thing here that I'm trying to show you in this video isn't that I started with drums and then wrote guitar. That's not the point. The point is, in a matter of minutes, I've literally only been recording for 6 minutes so far. And in addition to explaining all this stuff, we have a riff recorded. And the riff could have come from a guitar riff first. So let me just think of some guitar riff that I don't have drum ideas for. So to show you the other end of this. Now you notice every time I track, I'm just loop recording. I set up a loop, and then I just kind of keep going until I get the take I want. So even when I come up with an idea, I don't have to know how to play the riff perfectly, because I might just record it. Like this first one I did over here, I recorded this 7 times to get it. And keep in mind, sometimes this is just a demo. Sometimes I do try to do this where everything is perfect, so that way I don't have to come back and retrack it. But if I can't get something right in the moment, there is the assumption that I'm going to come back later and retract that. So I'm learning as I'm recording. So I'm writing and I'm recording in real time, and then I'm practicing in real time, because when you're writing, like there is value in being able to prototype, right? The whole point of this is we've been going for 10 minutes and I have like a realistic idea of how things are going to sound tracked. Because if something doesn't sound good recorded in a full band scenario, is it worth doing, right? I would argue a lot of the time, no, right? You're going to get an idea of, oh yeah, that idea kind of sucks, or I don't think that'll work in a full band scenario, or whatever, right? Like you can get the clear vision of if it will work or will not work. So let me go double track this. And this is probably something I might try to harmonize, but I'm just going to double track it first. Cool, so now I have the guitar riff, and now I can go program some drums to it. So I'm going to come in here, open up a new drum kit, and actually just for the sake of time, I'm going to clone this previous pattern, and then I'm going to, where's my thing? I'm going to close that, and then I'm going to do this because the cymbals are probably going to be the same. I'm just going to come in and do the kick pattern. So I've just programmed the kick pattern here, and this gives me initially kind of a feel for how this riff is. And it's super easy for me to come in here and just prototype. What if I go to like a double time feel? In this case, I like that way more, right? And so now I have a completely different sounding riff, which may then inspire me to write another riff. Let's just clone this, move this over, and let's say what would happen if we get this pattern and jumbled up the drums a bit. So it's instead of da-da-da-da-da, what if we start skipping some notes? So this riff isn't like it. I would have never come up with this if I wasn't writing like this. So on one hand, this whole approach that I'm pitching here for writing style is like write with your DAW and then like kind of like piece things together as you go. Don't feel like you're like writing this guitar composition, then you have to go and do this drum thing. Like kind of write this cool riff and then kind of immediately in like the matter of a minute prototype the drums, maybe even prototype the bass. And now you're getting new ideas you would have otherwise never come up with, right? And I don't know how this will sound, right? This is just part of the process. But if I play these back to back, they are kind of from the same world, right? The pattern was stolen from one riff and given to the other. So let's see what they sound like back to back. And let's actually just do that again so I can see what it sounds like the opposite direction. I don't want to record, I just want to listen. By doing this writing approach, you're valuing like rapid prototyping of demos and ideas. There's a reason why when I went and added up all my Logic Pro sessions and Ableton Live sessions that I have in my computer and hard drives, that I have over 1,200 songs like recorded. It's because of this workflow. And are all those songs done? No. In fact, like a lot of those songs are not much more fleshed out than this. I have like a couple ideas tracked. But you know what I do have? I have over 1,000 like song ideas tracked and demoed. And the reason why there's like probably 50% of them that are at like this stage, where there's like a couple riffs and a couple drum grooves, maybe there's some structure, maybe there's not, is because I realized pretty quick, like that's actually not that good of an idea. And think of how much time that has saved me throughout my life and my songwriting journey and guitarist journey of like ideas that just wouldn't have been that exciting but I wasted all the time fleshing them out. And it feels wrong to call it wasted, right? Because like time playing on your instrument and writing music is not necessarily time wasted. There's a lot of like fun value to that. But to me, it's way more fun to have that fun, get the instant satisfaction of hearing the recording, which then motivates me to keep going, and then being able to abandon ideas that just don't end up working and then finish the ideas that do work. Because if you have an idea that really does work, you're going to be able to hear it with drums, maybe with bass, maybe with synths, maybe with some good production value. And you'll know, like, wow, this is a killer song. I have to finish this. As opposed to hearing it off just demoed on your guitar. Now, big downsides of this approach really are that you will forget a lot of what you write. I'll go back and listen to old recordings, and I'll realize, hey, I don't know how to play any of this stuff, and I'll have to go learn it by ear. So sometimes, like what I'm trying to do now is when I track, I'll go in and program bass, which gives me a good starting point for if I try to learn the guitar back later, because then I'll have some starting ideas for notes. And sometimes I'll record videos on my phone of me recording stuff if it's a more complicated riff. In a perfect world, there'd be some type of auto AI tab software that like I give it a video of me playing something and it tabs it out automatically, right? That would be my dream scenario. But that's one big downside of it. Another one is like you sometimes have to loop record things a lot because you don't have the benefit of time of playing, and you have to make sure you come back and you actually do re-record stuff. So this method's not perfect, but for prototyping and demoing, I think this approach is killer. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. But as we're working on songs on this channel, hopefully now you have some insight as to like, why do I write in the way that I write? And what are some of the tactics that I use, like having experienced done this with the DAW for so long? Because I think I've been literally recording like this, writing and recording like this since like 2009, right? So this has been my workflow for 16 years. But this is the things I think about when I'm working on a track. So anyways, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more like songwriting and other guitar and stuff based content on this channel. And check out this video right here, because this is apparently what YouTube thinks you should watch. So anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you next video. Bye.